Sound effects add a lot of polish to your game. You can grab all of the code in the description below along with the asset pack for free. Let's get started. We're going to have two different classes. A sound library class, which is going to contain an array of all the sound effects in our game, and a sound manager class, which is going to be a singleton that can be accessed from anywhere. And it's also going to be responsible for playing 2D and 3D sounds from the sound library. Let's start by creating a new sound library script. Next, let's create a sound effect struct that's going to have a string group ID and an array of clips. Make sure to label it as system.serializable so that we can see it in the inspector. Now we can create a public array of sound effects. This is how it's going to look like in the inspector when it's populated. As you can see, for each sound effect, we have multiple audio clips. Next, we can remove the start and update function and create a new getClipFromName function. It's going to take in a string name and it's going to return an audio. Inside, we're simply going to loop through all of the sound effects in the sound effects array. If the name matches the group ID, then we simply return the random clip from that sound effect group. If we didn't find anything, we simply return null. Next, let's create a new Sound Manager script. Add a public static Sound Manager instance, which allows us to access this class from anywhere in our code. We're also going to have to make sure that there is only ever one single instance of this class in our scene. So if an instance already exists, then destroy this game object because we don't need it. Otherwise, set the instance to this and make sure that we don't destroy it on load, so it will persist between scene changes. We can remove the start and update methods. Now we need a reference to the sound library. Notice that I am making this variable private, which means it will not show up in the inspector and no other class can access this variable. However, if I still want to see it in the inspector, I can add the serialize field attribute. This in general is good coding practice. Now we're going to create a playSound3D method which takes an audio clip, a vector3 position. We make sure that the clip exists, and if it does, we simply call audio source that play clip at point. This will spawn an audio source at that position and play that sound effect, which means that if it's far away, it will be hard to hear. This method will be useful when we're trying to play an audio clip that is not within our audio library. But most of the time, we just want to be able to write the group ID and play that sound effect. So let's write a new method overload playSound3D that takes in a string sound name and a vector3 position. And inside, it simply delegates to the original playSound3D method that accesses the sound library and gets the clip from the name. We are almost done. This is all we need for 3D sound. But for 2D sound, for example, for the UI and stuff like that, we need a few more things. We will need a reference to an audio source, and then we can create a playSound2D method which takes in a string name. On the sound effect source, we call play1shot, and we pass the sound effects library clip_from_name. In the editor, we're going to create an audio manager game object and a child sound effect 2D source, which is going to have an audio source. Remember to disable play on awake, and on the audio manager, we're going to assign the sound library and the sound manager. Assign the references and populate the sound library with all of the different sounds that you have in your game. Now, whenever you want to play a sound effect, you simply access the Sound Manager instance.playSound 2D or 3D, and that's it. In the next tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create a music manager, and then we're also going to create a settings menu where you can control the volume.